All right, being that it's 6 o'clock, we will call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Mike, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening? Yeah, you. I don't know it. Oh, okay. Dean, help him out. I pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda this evening is public comment. Before we start receiving public comment, I do have a comment to make in regards to that. The public comment period is intended for the public to share ideas and concerns. It is not intended for an interactive discussion with council. There may be opportunities for public comments during specific agenda items that require a public hearing. Members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to questions or issues under discussion during this time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times while in session conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks or become boisterous while addressing the council. And forgive me, I was remiss in acknowledging that we have Mayor Benetti online this evening, as well as Councilor Matthews online with us this evening. Oh, welcome, gentlemen. I apologize, I did not acknowledge your presence. So with that said, I think the first person on the agenda this evening is Robert Trout. Would you please come up to the podium?
All right. My speech is on crime and the girls of Coos Bay, or Coos County. All the unfortunate girls of Coos Bay reject me. For the time it took me to realize being hated was a falsification of statutory rape. The missing persons citizens on patrol found 7 residents of Bachelor's Inn safe and well. Sativa, Miss Juju, Raven, Mercedes, Melody Laird Jr., and Emma Ross, and others. All girls were older than 15 at the time of the discovery of their father's missing daughters. This happened in public, fully nude and completely fresh. All their young bodies were given to their daddy forever. Princess Diana is Diane Hawk, sister of 4, Davy Hawk, Diane Tomita, and Diane Tomita. I attacked the unwanted invasion of ugliness in the world of her incest. I destroyed my bicycle on June bullcrap 1992 when she was put down. Jacob, my son, and Alana Zumsky were seen today on Anderson Street at 3 o'clock, whatever they were doing. Their main problem is falsification and murder. Nobody likes that kind of stuff, and we're trying to solve that stuff here in the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. The next person on the list this evening is John Richardson.
Can we do a switch of...
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So Amanda McCarthy who lives really close by me, will.
Hello, neighbor.
Yes, hello, neighbor. Will be speaking first.
Perfect. I am joined here tonight in person and virtually by other dedicated members of the Devereaux Center Board of Directors, and we have prepared a public comment for this group. Esteemed council and community members, after careful consideration of the current situation facing the Devereaux Center, the Board of Directors had made the decisive choice to temporarily suspend services at the Newmark location for 2 weeks, effective October 23rd, 2024. This proactive decision will allow the Board of Directors to thoroughly review current services, the physical facility, and overall operational practices, and comprehensively address the grievances brought by the City of Coos Bay. We assure you that our unwavering commitment is to resume services at the end of this 2-week period with our business license intact. In preparation for the temporary suspension of services, the Board of Directors and operational staff will diligently ensure that other community partners offer basic services to reduce the impact on its clients. We acknowledge the challenging and contentious position both the City of Coos Bay and the Devereaux Center are in, and we want to convey the Board's dedication to upholding the organization's mission and continuing to serve the vulnerable population in our community. We request an extension of the final decision until the November 5th meeting of the City Council so that the Board can complete its review as noted above.
Amanda, forgive me, can you give your first and last name and where you reside? I apologize.
Of course. My name is Amanda McCarthy, and I live at 1095 Sanford Street in Coos Bay.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next person on the agenda, or excuse me, on the list is John Richardson.
Thank you and good evening. My name is John Richardson. I live at 923 Madison Street in Coos Bay. I'm also I'm chairman of the board at Devereaux Center, also pastor at First Baptist North Bend. We also, during this time frame, have worked on plans in order to disseminate the services out into public to try and scatter some of our services so that our clients are still fed. ORCA has committed to collaborate with the Devereaux Center on distributing food services throughout the county. Gloria Day Lutheran Church has reached out seeking presentation for themselves and other churches to help dispose so they may provide support. Pastor Don at United Methodist has agreed to offer support. ORCA has identified a potential funding stream for security at the Newmark location as we continue to pursue that issue as well per the council. Devereaux staff has been notified and invited to collaborate with the intention to decentralize food, showers, and laundry services provided. And I have also been putting together a team of churches and community partners as well to work on figuring out how we can feed people around the city, how we can provide different services, and to continue to help our clients during this time frame. So we have many partners who have stepped forward and asking to be a part and be involved.
Thank you. And William Crombie is the last person to speak this evening. And William, will you let us know who you are and where you reside, please?
I am William Crombie. I live at 95817 Highway 241. I volunteered a couple times when I was a young child at the Devereaux Center, but I am not affiliated with them in any official capacity. I've not spoken to or coordinated with them about this, but as a member of the community, I feel extremely strongly. If the Devereaux Center disappears, our homeless population will not. They don't have a way to leave this place. What will happen is they will be more cold, more hungry, more desperate. They will have fewer access or less access to health care. They'll have less access to any of the various services that are provided around our area. Getting rid of the Devereaux Center would be nothing less than a local humanitarian disaster. Prior to the town hall on September 29th, I made a point of staying out every night until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., talking to homeless people on the street, getting to know what their life is like, the things they struggle with. My overwhelming impression from that is that the Devereaux Center is absolutely critical to providing services to keep these people alive. Not to keeping them here, not to keeping them happy, just to keep them alive. Since that town hall on the 29th, I have spoken to other services in the area. I've spoken to people at the library, people at the hospital, people at the Waterfall Clinic, others. And that town hall, Mayor Benetti said, and I quote, the other homeless services in the area would pick up the slack if the Devereaux Center closed. That is simply not feasible. Every single person I talked to at any of the other organizations in the area said that they are struggling. You know, the person at from the Waterfall Clinic at the town hall said that her waiting list is 500 people long, more than 500 people long. People at the library are already struggling to meet, the small capacity that we're able to serve. I work at the library. And the idea that shutting down the Devereaux Center and that not also helping them find another location for the village, because it's my understanding that the village is also being taken away. Again, there will be more desperate, cold, hungry people on the streets with no recourse. If people complain about crime, well, the way to solve crime, the way to avoid crime is giving these people support. If people complain about things being unsightly, the way to fix that is to give these people support. If the Devereaux Center goes away, we will not be able to track the issue. We will not be able to meaningfully address the issue in the capacity that we have so far. It will make our area more dangerous. It will make our people more desperate. It will make Coos Bay a worse place to live for everyone, and it will be a stain on the moral image of our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? There's a hand up online. Nikki Pritchard, did you have a public comment this evening? Okay, I will assume that we have no additional public comment. With that said, Council, we currently are within the 30-day period for the Devereaux Center's business license revocation, which I think ends on October 23rd. Is that correct? Given the requests just made by Amanda, one of the board members of the Devereaux Center, is this council interested in entertaining the request of extending, giving them a bit more time until perhaps our November 5th meeting to get an update on the issues? I would say, before I ask the other councilors to comment, it would be my expectation at that November 5th meeting that it would be a comprehensive list of items to be addressed. And I appreciate the Center's commitment and really decision to shutting down for 2 weeks, recognizing that there is work to do, perhaps looking at the mission and the services that that you currently provide. So, and most importantly, really focusing on the concerns that we addressed in the letter. So, with that said, Council, do you have any comments in regards to that?
I do. I was not in favor initially of extending the period of time any without some real physical steps, comprehensive. But I think that Amanda and John have outlined some very significant things and some work that they have done in a pretty timely fashion, and so I would not be opposed to extending that. I feel, and that's mostly what I can say, that this is the most I have felt that there is a genuine desire to meet the needs of what they provide to the community, as Mr. Crombie pointed out, but also to provide for the needs of the citizens that live in the vicinity of the facility.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would support extending their time frame. I've seen objective movement towards trying to deal with the issues that the city's brought up. I don't think it's the Devereaux Center is needed, I guess is my point. It's obvious to me that is a necessary service, but the issue is that it has to work not only for the individuals who access the Devereaux Center, but those individuals who surround the Devereaux Center as well.
Councillor Stevens, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the board and that they are looking at a thorough review of current services, the physical facility, and the operational practices. I just want to note that conversations have been happening since early 2023. There has been a significant amount of time and effort put into this, and I'm a bit loath to extend because it feels like we have gotten to a place of contention, and it has been really challenging, and it's unfortunate that it took this step to get the board to review the operations of the Devereaux. And so I am in favor of extending by 2 weeks, but I am, like, at the end of that 2 weeks, on November 5th, I am very hopeful that the board and the Devereaux will come back with a very comprehensive list of many things that need to change. I am encouraged by John, your point about partnership, because the goal is partnership. The goal is to provide dignity to the clients and the people there that are trying to receive services, and the goal is successful transition out of homelessness. And so I am in favor, but I do have very high expectations for what you bring forward on November 5th.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Mayor Benetti, any comments?
Yes, I also would support the extension. It falls up right now on the 23rd, which is in between council meetings, and so I think that we would be prudent in giving them a time to come to us on the 5th. And I agree with what Councillor Stevens has stated, and also Kilmer, that we been working on this for some time. It's not something that just came about, and it's unfortunate it took this kind of pressure to have some movement. But with that being said, there also has been some movement. We have some new board members. I know that they've hired an operation person to do some evaluation, and they're going to close for 2 weeks and look at their operation and see how they can make it work and make it not a nuisance for the city of Coos Bay. So I would support it and look forward to having this. This will be on the November 5th agenda, I presume, Nicole. Am I correct?
It sounds as if you may be asking for the addition, so that's a method by which it can be added.
Yes, I'd like to have it added officially then, so we can address this on the 5th, and hopefully things will be worked out. Well, one way or the other, at least. So thanks.
As Council President, Mayor Benetti, I had hoped to be able to do that from the dais this evening, but once again, you're taking my duties away from me, so. Sorry, just being a bit playful, because that's what we try to be here once in a while. Councillor Matthews, any comments from you?
I'll just be real quick. It's been said many times over by the other councilors. I think Councillor Stevens really shared my views very eloquently, and I do see that the Devereaux Center is taking this very seriously and are making steps in the right direction. And yeah, I'm in favor of granting the extension.
Great. Well, with that said, I think, as Mayor Benetti said, I think we're all in agreement, and I appreciate the board being here this evening, and I appreciate the words from my fellow councilors, and we look forward to that November 5th meeting to see what can be accomplished. And with that said, we'll just add that to the November 5th agenda. Okay, great. All right, the next item on this evening's agenda is consent calendar. Council, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We had planned to have a presentation from the Boys and Girls Club this evening, but we have to postpone that. But we do have the semi-annual presentation from the Coos Bay Downtown Association. Harv, I hope you'll be giving that presentation this evening. Great, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. No, looking forward to sharing what's been happening with the organization and where we are. I'm going to start with our mission. For those of you who have better eyesight than I do, basically our mission has been to focus and help our community in terms of building and retaining the businesses in the area. But broader than that, the Downtown Association is really about enhancing the quality of life in our area. Main Street organizations, I think, sometimes talk about bringing businesses back to the district, but quite honestly, when we look at our organization, the Downtown Association is not the Downtown Business Association. We are basically a community organization that represents all of downtown, and downtown has an awful lot more than just businesses. We have a chamber, we have galleries, we have our waterfront, we have a lot of different parts of our community that are in that downtown, and that's what we're trying to represent, and that's what we're trying to improve, is the quality of life of all the folks who live in the area. And quite honestly, motto-wise, it's not so much that we want to necessarily bring business back to downtown. We're hoping to bring people to downtown. We want people on our sidewalks, because when you have people downtown, you're going to have business downtown. You're going to have businesses that thrive downtown, but you need the people. And that's as much of our focus as the businesses. And I think it's important to lay that out there, because there are other organizations that do represent businesses in our community, including the Chamber. Their membership is exclusively made up of businesses. So again, we're talking about the quality of life in our community. I'm going to focus real quickly on the 4 points of Main Street, which we are a Main Street organization, and I'm going to mention the chairs as we go through of our various committees, because quite honestly, we are primarily a volunteer-driven organization, and it is, in fact, that board of directors and the chairs of our committees that really get the work of our organization done. On promotions, that's Julie Graham. You know her from Bicoastal Media. Terry Norris, Gid Yappy. April Cooley. April has Leaf down on the southern end of town. So we're represented in that group by a wide variety of folks, and their whole concept, again, is what can we do to bring folks downtown. And we have a variety of things that we've done for years. I don't need to go into these in any great detail, because most of these festivals and things are like 40 years old. They've been here long before, in some cases, our organization. Blackberry Arts Festival is a good example. The Bay Area Fun Festival, which we just got done a week ago. Again, all 40 years worth of history in both of those activities, and we're happy as an organization to keep that going. We added this year 4th of July in the park. The city has taken that on in many years in the past. We've took that on this year, and we're happy to do it. Again, it's a community activity. If anything, the feedback we kind of got on that activity is, my goodness, here's an organization that's actually providing something for families. There's no alcohol involved. This is just a fun activity for the community to get involved in. 4th of July in the park, we added that this year. Our farmers market, 24 seasons and counting. If you look at farmers markets in Oregon, you'll find that this is near the top of the list. We don't quite match Portland in their market, but if you look at farmers market across these states, Coos Bay's right up there. More vendors than ever. We added the green lot to the venue this year and had no problem filling it with vendors. So happy to continue that tradition, 24 years and counting. Those are just our few of our primary activities that we have in that whole area of promotions. We also work on design. We're basically how our town appears and how our community appears is important to us. Sheriff Sarah Leahy is the person who heads our design effort. And if you've been on Front Street, you've probably noticed a lot of different and new plantings that have appeared in the last month or two. Credit Sarah with a great deal of that work. Downtown cleanup, again, Sarah led that effort, but it was, we do have a beautification group, but in Sarah's case, what she was involved with is getting into the downtown and taking care of some of the weeds, and unfortunately, cigarette butts are the bane of trash in this community. An awful lot of that activity, too. But we've done 2 cleanups this year. We don't match and try not to match what the beautification folks are doing. They have the leadership in terms of Coos Bay in general. We're focusing again on the downtown. Other things in terms of design, the flowers, bicycle racks. We've got a major program that we have been involved with. Rotary's provided some funding for it, but it's an effort that we do with Marshfield High School in terms of bicycle racks in our town. We have a couple more racks that are about ready to go. I think one is done. It's going to go into the green lot. The next one is planned for the new parking lot on Front Street. So we'll continue to do that work. And what we just have done with Marshfield is we recognize those racks aren't necessarily ideal for the bicyclist, and they'll tell you that. So what we've been doing is turning loose Marshfield and basically asking those students to come up with a new design, and they are in the process of doing so. But again, partnership with those students, a chance for those students as they work on this, when they leave the community and come back, they can kind of say, yes, I was part of that effort. So we'll continue to do that in the future. Art, there's so many artists in our area, and the quality of their work kind of reflect our community. And so we've been working over the years on the utility boxes and the 5x5. We've got a couple more to do. The season, unfortunately, is running away from us. But we're about to get those done. And then, in the scheme of things, we got Coos Bay Village with a whole series again of utility boxes out there. And so our work with the artists will continue. Organization, basically our folks who lead that, Beth Clarkson. I think most of you are familiar with Beth and Chuckerberry. She is our board president. Other board members involved are Dana Weber from Banner Bank, Madge Osborne. A lot of the banners, for example, is a primary thing they work on. And this particular year, or at least this last quarter, the attention to those banners has gone on to the 150th birthday. Wayfinding signage. This is an effort and again a partnership between ourselves, the city of Bandon, as well as the visitors center. Quite honestly, I know this is something that Councilor Stevens has indicated that we may want to take a look at. We have 3 signs that we do, and again, partnership, the city, folks like Elena provides me with business license, who's opened a new business. The chamber provides information on in terms of ribbon cuttings and so forth. But I tell you what, on the signage, I do agree with Councilor Stevens. We need to take a look at that. Because quite honestly, if you want to take a look at that most recent, and you can't quite read it from here, on the back side, we have events included in there. Well, when you started talking about the 150th birthday, which is what the last quarter was about, there were so many things going on that instead of listening it, they put it into a Q&R code. The problem with that is somebody going to take a look at what those events are. If they don't have a cell phone, they're not going to be able to read that Q&R code. Bottom line, on the other hand, is if they had that cell phone, they probably wouldn't be going there anyway, because in terms of finding something, they're going to find it on their phone as opposed to going to that wayfinding sign. So we need to take a look. I agree with the Councilor Stevens. It's a great partnership. I like the product, but the flip side of the coin is I'm not sure it's really meeting the need. And so it is a partnership that's been a good one, but one that we continue to need to look at. Other things that we have basically done when you take a look at that work of that organization committee, basically we were able to secure a $12,000 grant. And with that $12,000 grant, we were able to bring in a portable stage to the green lot. It's there for community gatherings. It's portable. I mean, to be honest, it can be taken down. It can be, if we have an event where a community event needs to happen out at the park, well, you can move it. Councilor Matthews, I think, has some experience with this. I think for the Blackberry Arts, he wound up help putting that stage together. But it is a contribution that we're more than happy to make to the community, because I think it enhances and really makes that green lot a community gathering place. Economic vitality, I'm moving through this quickly. As I know you've got a pretty decent agenda still in front of you. Chairs on this, Councilor Kilmer is one of the leaders. Also, Amarissa Wooden, if you know Amarissa, if you had any running events in town that you either yourself or your someone you know participated in, you probably saw Amarissa there. She has that athletic shoe store right there on Front Street. Major thing that Economic Vitality has been working on, and we've got partners from the city, from the port, we've got developers, but basically the Main Street Revitalization Grant is coming up next year. Main Street organizations like ourselves are those that can apply for these funds. It's a competitive grant. There's about 100 Main Streets altogether, so we're competing with all of them, but we're hoping to bring in $400,000 from the state to the community. In the picture you'll see one of the grant recipients where we invested some dollars previously, and what we were looking for there, again, downtown was upper floor housing. Housing's a big issue in this town, and that's one of the things that this particular committee is looking at. Is there some things that we can do to create more housing in our downtown area with some of the buildings we have? So basically a thrust of that particular committee. Anyway, that's kind of what's happened in the last quarter. More than happy to answer questions, but also more than happy to return once a quarter if necessary, and we'll keep you up to date.
Harv, thank you very much for this evening's presentation. I have a few questions, if I may. So Harv, you had mentioned that it looks like the group is going to start potentially working with artists on the boxes down in the Coos Bay Village. Could you please bring back to the council, this council is very interested in public art, and I think what we're looking for is potentially what is the theme of that, and what will that look like? We get a lot of comments from citizens about the art, so we would love if you could bring that before us.
Yeah, be happy to. And one of the other areas that we are exploring, and this is something that came up in the livability committee, we were talking about trash in this town, the trash receptacles. One of the concepts real quickly was, well, those trash receptacles can be a lot more attractive if, in fact, we did that very same principle that we're doing on the utility boxes of giving our artists a chance to do something with those receptacles. But certainly be happy to come back. And in fact, part of our agreement with the city is working not only with the city, but with the power folks.
Great.
I think they ultimately have the final say in terms of what we do with some of their boxes, but more than happy to bring that back here.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. We have a rich history on Front Street, and so wouldn't it be fun if we could, in a consistent way, educate people as they walk along Front Street? So that's one idea. The second comment I wanted to say is thank you for, I've heard many comments about the bicycle rack, so thank you for working on that new design with the Marshfield High School students. And the other comment I wanted to make was about the signs. So Councillor Stevens did address concerns on that. And so we actually, I'm not sure if you were aware that Councillor Stevens, Kilmer, and I were pretty passionate about these signs as well. And we're looking for ways, we're looking for a solution. And what we discovered in that process was the solution that we all really wanted was really expensive. And it would cost a lot of dollars for the city of Coos Bay, which we just didn't feel like was a responsible way to spend city dollars. So I'm excited to hear what you're going to bring back for us. We came up with, I think, a plan that worked for the moment. And so it sounds like you have some really great ideas. So I look forward to the next quarterly meeting, perhaps, that you'll bring some ideas forward for us to consider.
Yeah, and there may be a variety, the technology and things are out there. I understand what you're saying in terms of the cost. I mean, ideally, yes, there are some technical things that you could do, but maybe cost prohibitive too. But there are, the technology keeps improving.
Absolutely.
And there may be some alternatives
I'm
there.
challenging you, Harv, so I can't wait to see it at the next, meeting. So those are all my comments. Councillor Kilmer, any comments?
It's better to turn this on. You can hear me better if I do that. I really don't have anything. I did want to mention, though, that I appreciate that when I look online at our council meetings, if he's not here in person, that he has, since he's come on board to the Downtown Association, been in attendance of our meetings, so that he can be aware of things that are happening on this dais that can affect the businesses and the people who live downtown, and take that back. And also has been participating, assisted with a survey on bike routes, and has been involved in the various committees that are important to people in this community. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here today.
Well, and I've made a conscious effort to reach out to the various groups too, because quite honestly, I think over time what's been missing from our organization in more recent years is I'm not sure we've represented those folks in this community as much as we could have. And so it's been a conscious effort to try to get involved with these groups.
Okay. Councillor Stevens.
I do have something. Thank you. Yeah, Harv, thank you for your work. I had the pleasure of sitting with Bandon City Council person Peter Braun on Saturday at the Empty Bowls event, and he educated me on a bunch of things that you did while you were with the Downtown Association in Bandon, one specifically around the National Historic Registry. And I'm just going to plant a seed for you that I think it would be interesting to have a conversation with the Coos Art Museum about some of the pros and cons of that approach, and it sounds like you really helped lead the effort there. So thank you for that, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a kind of a cumbersome process, but well worth it in terms of getting that designation, for sure.
Any other comments from the council? Harv, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming, so appreciate the report. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, forgive me, staff introductions. Chelsea.
Yes, good evening, council and mayor. Tonight, I have the opportunity to introduce to you our Economic Revitalization Administrator, Alina Schnarr. I'll ask her to come up to the podium. So Alina has been with us for about 4 months now. She comes from the city of West Lynn, where she filled a similar role. I want to give her just a few props. She is currently working to obtain her Oregon Certified Economic Developer credentials, and so that's something we know is really going to help boost her professional strengths and skills working with the city. And then the role she is playing is no small feat. She has really jumped in and taken the bull by the horn. She's out meeting all the people in the groups, doing the work in the community to help move things forward. And so we're really excited about that and appreciate it. So I'll just say we're excited to have you, Alina, here, and I know we'll see great things. So give her an opportunity to speak for herself.
Yes, thank you. Is this microphone on? I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, so my name's Alina Schnarr, and I am the new Economic Revitalization Administrator for the city. Like Chelsea said, it's been about 4 months, and just diving right in. I didn't prepare a fancy update, but I can share a few things that I've been working on. And yes, I'm very proud of my work with the Oregon Economic Development Association. So after one more class, I'll be a certified Oregon Economic Developer. So I appreciate the city's support of that professional development. And I think first off, I'd just like to say that what I find is that this community is pretty incredible, and there's a lot of community partners, as we all know. So I've spent the last 3 months really diving in and working with all of them, including Harv and the CBDA. There's SCDC, our South Coast Development Council, CCD, Port of Coos Bay, Visitors Center, Bureau, the Chamber. There's so many, but I just think that it's pretty incredible that there's so many people doing economic development work here already. So I think when you go into a new municipality and build a program, you really have to spend a lot of time listening. And so I've just taken the time to meet people and hear what's already going on so that I can uplift the work and maybe, help get Coos Bay on other people's radars. So, a little bit about me. I was in Portland metro area for many years. I was doing economic development work in West Lynn, and then was also marketing coordinator for the Clackamas Community College. But I also did a lot of economic development work in rural Vermont. So I lived in Vermont for 15 years in a similar sized town. It's about, I think it was like 12 to 13,000. And I can see a lot of similarities. So I'm really excited to kind of implement some of the work that I did there. I built an artisan collective. I created a holiday art boutique that's now in its 12th year. A lot of art initiatives, so it's really wonderful that Coos Bay has a lot of that, and I'd like to work with community partners and uplift that a little bit more. So yeah, it was a small town with the same sort of scenic Route 100 going through, and they had some, Green Mountain coffee roasters and big industry, and we need to bring in some investment, but I'd like to do it thoughtfully, and I think there's just a lot already here. So I think there's a lot that we can do. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm originally from the East Coast, and I also did a lot of work in planning and was a zoning administrator and code enforcement officer. So I've been in the public sector for over 10 years, and yeah, I'm happy to take a few questions, or my door's always open. But yeah, it's been going well, so thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Any comments?
I just want to say, you know, a lot of times when people come in, they have this vision of what they want to do and change. And I have worked with Alina on the Economic Vitality Committee, and when she talks about uplifting and moving forward, you know, and ideas and taking in that information, I can vouch 100% for that. She is a dynamo when it comes to that, and has really worked well with people on that committee. That it's a thoughtful committee that we actually reached out to people to make sure we had a good cross-section of folks, but also to have that representation from the city that shows that this is a partnership in making things happen in our community, but also in a thoughtful way. And so I appreciate you being here and the work that you've done with the Coos Bay Downtown Association and for the city.
Thanks for saying so. I appreciate that.
Any other comments? Okay, I do want to say as well that Councillor Kilmer is absolutely right. There have been so many instances since I've moved here almost 30 years ago where we consider bringing industry in, but we really aren't thoughtful about how it will affect the community. So I appreciate your commitment to being thoughtful about the type of industry that we consider, and look forward to seeing all the great things that you're going to do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's.
Anyone online, or should I step down? No.
I think you're off the hook. We'll ask you the pointy-headed questions next time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on the agenda are the action items. Consideration to approve a contract for the installation of a guardrail associated with the Ross Inlet Road Emergency Repair Project. And Jennifer, I think that's you?
Yes, it is. Thank you. Hello, everyone. On May 7th, Council approved the Ross Road Inlet Emergency Repair Project to Geostabilization International, or GSI, for an amount not to exceed $458,005, which include a 15% contingency. For some quick background, that scope of work was to install soil nails to repair the failed slope. As a result of the failure of the slope and the construction, the width of the shoulder adjacent to the traveled way was reduced. So it required the installation of a guardrail. So a guardrail was not part of GSI's original proposal. Staff requested bids from 3 contractors, with Gagit Construction being the low bid in the amount of $17,615. So Council's May 7th approval was for GSI alone and did not include Gagit Construction. The installation of the guardrail was a continuation of one project, and to be transparent, staff wanted to bring this back to Council for approval after the fact. Should Council approve this expenditure, it will bring the total repair project cost to $413,805, which is $44,200 below the original approved amount, and there will be no more further costs associated with this project.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions or comments from the council?
I have one, Lucinda.
Sure.
So Jennifer, did you say that the road was narrowed? Is that just because it needed to be stabilized in that fashion? Did I understand that correctly?
So the traveled way remained the same width. It was the shoulder on the edge of the travel way that got narrow as a result of the failure and the installation of the soil nails.
Thank you.
Councillor Stevens?
I just appreciate the comment at the end about there will be no more costs associated with this project. Thank you.
Okay, Council, how would you like to proceed?
See, I'm all thrown off being on this side. I move that we approve the after-the-fact expenditure of funds in the amount of $17,615 to the construction company that did the work. What is that, Gagit? For installation of the guardrail associated with the Ross Inlet Road Emergency Repair Project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the after-effect expenditure of funds in the amount of $17,615. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of the Coos Bay Police Officers Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. Nicole.
Yes, thank you. So presented to you tonight is the effort of several months between two parties sitting at the table trying to find out how we move forward with the new contract. The contract for the Police Association expired June 30, and we actually opened this up earlier this year and had some negotiations back and forth. As we got closer to June 30, we still had some outstanding items, so kind of walked through the mediation process. And through that, we were able to reach a middle ground. So what's presented here is that middle ground. It is within, generally, what we had budgeted for. We had an assumption of a 4% COLA, which would be equal to similar for the other folks in the city. There are a couple of additional elements that were added here with this agreement. One of those is a look at increasing the dispatch supervisors. As you know, we are in the weeds of trying to transition the county dispatch services. That's grown that division of the police department quite a bit, and so that's going to require some extra help there. So there is an addition of a 1% increase for those folks. Right now, that's one person, but over time that'll be 2 to 3 total. So that's new in this contract. And then the other piece that's kind of new is some modifications to the longevity scale. Overall, I think the management team is really happy with where we landed, considering where we started out at the beginning of the year. So I'd entertain any questions you may have, or?
Mayor Benetti, any questions on this?
Not any questions. I'm just pleased that we were able to come to an agreement. It's always nice that we can ratify something with any of our unions, and especially the police union. So I'm glad that we came to terms and are going to be able to move forward.
Any other comments? Okay, I agree. I appreciate all the work that all parties did, so thank you. With that said, Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we approve the negotiated and union ratified 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Coos Bay Police Officer Association for fiscal years 25 through 27 and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the negotiated, I have a motion and a second to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Coos Bay Police Officers Association for fiscal years 2025, 2027. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. City manager report.
Thank you. The first thing, I was going to just remind everyone that we have a LOC this week, and we do have a few of you that are able to attend at that conference. There's some kind of hefty things on that schedule that are going to be coming down, so we'll hope to bring back some great stuff to share with those of you who aren't able to attend. One of the pieces at the very end is voting on the priorities, as the LOC will bring those forth to next year's sessions. So we'll send out, I'll tomorrow send out what we proposed based on your guidance to push forward as our priorities, as well as a copy of the letter that the city submitted with the mayor's signature for our opposition to revision to the TLT tax. I also wanted to maybe discuss, as we're heading into the holiday season, the November and December meetings. I think all look really great, except for potentially your work session in December, which lands on Christmas Eve. If it's not a day we're open at City Hall, it doesn't mean we can't meet, but consider maybe altering that meeting if we're going to look at any of them.
Do you need consensus, or imagine we're all in agreement? I imagine we're all in agreement to cancel that meeting, Nicole.
Okay, great. I wanted to share some things that are kind of weaving together interestingly. So I attended a sustainability conference in Ashland, maybe last week, the week before, time flies. Also was great to, Councilor Matthews was in attendance at that conference, and there was a lot of ways we could start thinking about how we impact our environment in many things, just kind of maybe applying that sustainability lens. But since then, things seem to kind of be aligning interestingly. So one piece that is interesting is we started a path with Energy Trust to review our energy usage in the pool building, as an example. There's some really strong incentives there for that work. It's a year-long program. They come in with some consultants. They kind of do a review of our systems and give us some feedback. We have potential to save some cents per kilowatt usage, as well as implement anything that they may find there are incentives along the way if we meet some milestones. So that's a piece of this puzzle. We also met this week with the folks from that awarded the city the Heritage All-Star Community Award. And they were speaking to an opportunity for us to look at a disaster preparedness following line in that climate resiliency piece. So there's some just interesting little things that seem to be connecting. We're going to be able to do that work with assistance, with a consultant. And where they're coming at is kind of an interesting kind of slant on that, in that when we consider rebuilding after a disaster, that we're doing some, so from a place of placemaking, we want to make sure that people who lived here prior to still live here afterwards, because this is the space they identify with and they're connected to. So being thoughtful, it's that sustainability, resiliency piece just kind of connecting. So just sharing some of those things that kind of seem to be aligning, and they have supports to them, so it's not just all about the cities adding some more workload. So that's what I have to share tonight.
Thank you, Nicole. Councilors, any comments or questions for Nicole? Okay, the last item on the agenda are council comments. Mayor Benetti, I'm going to start with you.
All right. First of all, I just asked a question. Since we all were in agreement to extend the timeline to revoke the Devereaux Center license, do we need to make a motion on that, or is the consensus all right?
This is Nate McClintock. I think consent is just fine. We have a consensus here, and so I don't think we needed a motion.
Okay, great. My other comments I'd like to commend OBAB for doing the Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery this last weekend on Saturday. There were 64 people that were in attendance to help clean up. Great attendance. I also want to do a shout out to Adam Palmer for the Blue Heron. He provided breakfast for those group. That was great. Another community getting together and doing something that was beneficial to us. Also, I want to take the time to say happy anniversary to Rob and Stephanie, 35 years. That's great. So congratulations. And I want to welcome Alina to our team and to our area. End of my comments. Thank you. Good meeting. Thank you for filling in.
Thanks, Mayor Benetti. Councilor Matthews.
All right. I mostly just wanted to remind people that it is voting season. So if you're watching this tonight, you probably are already aware, but for those of you who may not be, voting for our area or our state is November 5th is the election day. And tonight is actually the last day to register in Oregon. And you have until 11:59 to do that p.m. tonight. Also, ballots are going to start being mailed out tomorrow. So let's get those things filled out and returned. For those of you who might not know, there is a ballot box right in front of City Hall. So that is one place that you could drop it off. Really hoping for a good turnout in this year's election. I also just wanted to say thank you to all the presenters tonight, and welcome to all the staff that we had introduced as well. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Matthews. Councilor Kilmer.
Yes, I had a couple of things that I wanted to mention. I wanted to thank Fire Chief Mark Anderson, who made a presentation today to the Coos Bay North Bend Rotary Club, and of course reminded us all of the important work that our fire department does. Everything from the emergencies clear down to some physical assists that they do on a variety of things. And we are very fortunate to have the staff that we have that provides that service to our community. And also, it is Fire Prevention Month, is it not? And so check your batteries and your smoke alarm. If you have any questions, call the fire department. Not on 911.
The chief is so proud of you right now, Councillor Kilmer.
Checks in the mail. Also, we had a very successful event for the Bus Jam Toy and Food Drive, where the speeders came through town. Lots of folks came out to welcome those, the operators and the riders. 45 of the speeders, I think it was one of the largest that they've had, and 103 operators and riders. So it was very busy on our boardwalk. It was a great showpiece for what we have in our community. There was a rally down there right before, then the speeders came through, and I look at our community and see how exciting it is for me to see that vibrant thing that we have right there as you come through town. So appreciate everyone, but let's give some thought to those who are less fortunate than us this holiday season, and there's going to be lots of opportunities to give and help those folks out that are going to need it. We won't have another council meeting before the end of October, or do we? We have a work session. So there is one, or is there two farmers markets left? The season is winding down, so make sure you get downtown on Wednesdays. And then Harv did not mention, we have the trick or treat that happens in downtown, and you'll see the orange posters have gone up at businesses throughout downtown. So it's going to be a fun time. So that's all I have for tonight.
Great, thank you, Councillor Kilmer, and happy anniversary to you and Rob. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, I want to shout out to Councillor Matthews. I saw him on this past weekend, and he talked about how he and his business and his family were participating in 3 community events, both working and sponsoring the events. And I saw him at one of them, and just shout out to his wife, partner Annie, for the effort that she and her team put into Empty Bowls. It's my favorite event of the year, and it was really great turnout and amazing as always. So thank you, Councillor Matthews, to you and your family for that. The other thing I want to bring up is something I'd like us to consider, and it's something I learned about a couple weeks ago that a different city is looking at enacting, and that is a blight tax. Harv talked about some programs that he's looking at to help incentivize businesses in downtown with what I would call a carrot to help them take care of some of the blighted businesses downtown. But in some communities, they have enacted up to a 25% tax on blighted businesses, which I would call a stick, to help incentivize them to take care of their blight and either sell their property to someone who then would actually do something with it, or to inspire them to make the necessary changes to have it be rented. And so it is, at this point in our community, I just feel like we need to take stronger action to get rid of the blight. And so it's something I'd like to see on a future agenda.
Thank you. And just to be clear, that is for the blighted business only, correct, that tax? Okay, great. I look forward to seeing, maybe you'll learn more at the League of Oregon Cities Conference, yeah. Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Cribbins.
I'll keep it short because most of what I was thinking about has already been mentioned. I did want to thank Nicole and whoever else was on the negotiating team for ratifying the contract. Those are always not a lot of fun, but they're important, and so I'm glad that you got it done and quickly, so well done. And then I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with Mayor Bernetti and say happy anniversary to Rob and Stephanie. 35 years is it's a landmark. And then I want to jump on the bandwagon with Councilor Matthews and say, yeah, vote. In most recent years, there's been a lot of discourse about frustration with how political systems are worked. And the answer has always been in our own hands the entire time. We have the privilege of voting for the people who lead us. If we don't take that opportunity, then it is only ourselves to blame for how things are going. So, and that's not any description of how you vote or why you vote, just vote. That's your voice. Those are my comments.
I think that's a great way to end this evening's meeting, so I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Councilor Cribbins.